Week 4 of the Phoenix Festival tournament has wrapped up and we have our winners who are moving on to the next round. Thank you to everyone who voted for both the singles and doubles categories this week. With 16 matches to go over, there was a lot to analyze and I really appreciate the people who have put in the time. But now getting into the results, starting with the singles category. In match 1, we had Blake Belladonna versus James Ironwood. Both very fast opponents, with Blake likely being the faster one, as a lot of people were stating, but ultimately it was James that came out the winner. With Ironwood's due process, the speed at which he could dart around the battlefield, ultimately people said that with his experience and being the head of the military, having so much more under his belt and also being able to go toe-to-toe with Winter, he would ultimately be able to take out Blake in this match. In our next match, we had Winter Schnee versus Clover Ebby, two high-ups of the Atlas military, and two highly skilled combatants. In this case, it was Winter that came out the victor. A lot of people saying Clover can definitely hold his own in a fight, but his fighting style is more towards, well, support, whereas Winter has much more versatility with her semblance of glyphs, the summoning, the elemental dust that she has, and especially what we saw at the end of Volume 8 with the time dilation. She is a powerhouse on her own outside of the maiden powers, so she would be able to take out Clover. Wouldn't be using any magic in this, but she wouldn't need this to be able to win against Clover, though Clover with his good fortune would definitely put up a pretty good fight. In our third match, we had Neapolitan versus Cinder Fall, a repeat of the match that we saw in Volume 6. This one brought to its conclusion, and that conclusion was that Neo would end up winning against Cinder, where Cinder is not using her maiden powers. We did see this in Volume 6, where Neo was able to handle Cinder. Cinder didn't have her Midnight, her blades, and she wasn't really using her semblance that much, but Neo, with her fighting style and the illusions, would be able to take out Cinder according to the majority vote, which I can't really argue with. Cinder is very skilled in her own right and with different conditions, and possibly if Cinder was able to get the jump on Neo, I could see her winning, but in a tournament style setting, I think Neo would have a bit of an edge. In our fourth match, we had Piranekos versus Mercury Black, another rematch from earlier in the RWBY series. And if that match was brought to its conclusion, with Pyrrha using her semblance, a lot of people agreed that Pyrrha would win. A large portion due to, well, Mercury having metal legs, Pyrrha with her polarity could just ragdoll him around. I really don't think that that would be able to defeat Mercury on its own. There would be a lot of other things that would have to take place, because Mercury is highly skilled on his own, and to be fair, we haven't seen Mercury fight all out at all in the RWBY series, something that I really want to see, and a couple other people commented as well, so perhaps when we get to Vacuo in Volume 10 and see more of his fighting style, when he maybe breaks away from Salem, we'll see more of his fighting style, and, well, we'll see what the matches would be after that point. In our fifth match, we had Harriet Brie versus Weiss Schnee, a match that could have gone either way in my opinion. I probably would have leaned a bit more towards Harriet, as she could deal a little bit more damage than Weiss, but Weiss turned out the victor. Especially with the dust that she has, a lot of people said that she would immediately put down a freezer burn and prevent Harriet from running around that much. Plus, fighting in the anti-gravity biome, Harriet's speed may not be able to account for it, whereas Weiss could use her glyphs, stay in place, something that I hadn't really thought of, and the gravity biome wouldn't affect her like it would for Harriet. So ultimately, Weiss came out the victor due to the ability that she has to use dust. Plus, if she was able to get off her summoning, though, I feel like Harriet would be able to handle most of those, but largely due to her dust, Weiss Schnee comes out the victor. And then in match 6, we had the Battle of the Sisters, Yang Xiaolong versus Ruby Rose. Two characters that know each other's fighting styles extremely well, would be able to anticipate each other's moves to a certain extent, and because of this, Yang came out the victor. With Ruby's tactics being a bit more predictable and her having the heavier weapon, Yang would be able to avoid Ruby's attacks a lot easier than Ruby could avoid Yang's, as Yang does attack a lot quicker than Ruby. Ruby moves quicker than Yang thanks to her semblance, but Yang's attacks themselves are quicker than Ruby's, because Ruby can't actually attack when using her semblance, so Yang would be able to overpower her sister, which I kind of have to agree with as well. In match 7, we had Emerald Tsustrai versus Vine Zeki, and fighting in the forest biome, there was a lot for Vine to be able to cling on to, and he would definitely have the maneuverability, but he would need to be able to hit his target to be able to break Emerald's aura, and because of that, Emerald came out the victor. She has a very strong semblance, and with those illusions, it would be difficult for anyone to keep up with, let alone locate her within those illusions. It would be draining her aura, but Vine's semblance would as well, and Emerald would have enough capabilities to be able to overpower Vine before he could actually latch onto her with his vines. So Emerald came out the victor in this match. And then in our last match in the singles category, we had Yatsuhashi Daichi versus Nora Valkyrie. Two extremely heavy hitters. Nora did have the mountain biome, which gave her the added lightning dust to increase her own strength, but Yatsuhashi is a tank in his own right. At base level, he, in my opinion, is much stronger than Nora and would be able to deal a lot of damage, not to mention tank a number of hits thanks to his fulcrum. He could use it as a shield and then easily get her back on the backswing, but it was Yatsuhashi that lost. Nora came out the victor, largely due to the mountain biome itself, that Nora could increase her own strength thanks to that, as well as the lightning dust in her own hammer. She would be able to deal more damage to Yatsuhashi than Yatsuhashi would be able to deal to Nora. Honestly, I probably would have picked Yatsuhashi to win this fight, but you can't really argue with Nora's mobility being greater than Yatsuhashi's and the mountain biome being ideal for Nora. If she can get to the top, which is a lot easier with her Witch's Broom function, she can charge up her semblance and deal a devastating blow. So Nora came out the victor. And thus, there are 4 characters eliminated from the tournament in the singles category. Harriet, Brie, RWBY, Rose, Vine, Zeki, and Yatsuhashi Daichi are eliminated from the tournament. And now we get to the doubles category. A ton of exciting pairs matched up against one another, and I was so happy to see that everyone else was excited about it as well. A lot of interesting combinations that I hadn't thought of before, as with many others, and this is going to be really exciting to see how it turns out overall. In our first match, we had Glinda and Winter versus Yatsuhashi and Harriet. This one was pretty unanimous. Glinda and Winter are a powerhouse team, and because of that, they would be able to take out Yatsuhashi and Harriet, but they wouldn't be able to do so, like, immediately, I don't think. Harriet, with her speed, would give them a lot of trouble. If she was able to get close to Glinda, she would be able to take her down, most likely, not to mention Yatsuhashi's strength. The ability to shatter a biome would be a lot to keep up with, but Glinda and her telekinesis is very powerful, as well as Winter and her versatility, and those two in combination together make for a really powerful team. And from the sounds of it, they seem to be one of the favorites to win the tournament, so we'll see how it turns out overall. And then in our second match, we had Vine and RWBY versus Tyrion and Velvet. We are assuming that all of these characters are working together with the people on the same team, but in this case, it's obvious that Vine and RWBY, having fought together before in the RWBY series, would have much better team cohesion. That being said though, Tyrion and Velvet are still a powerful duo. Tyrion, with him being one of the strongest characters in RWBY that we have seen thus far, and then Velvet being one of the most versatile characters, they would end up winning the fight. With those two working together, Velvet providing support for Tyrion, choosing whatever long-range weapon would help support the battle at that moment, or distracting whatever opponent so Tyrion can focus on one of them, well, Tyrion and Velvet would end up winning this fight, and eliminate Vine and RWBY from the tournament. In our third match, we had Talk and Mercury versus Ironwood and Clover. Talking about good team cohesion, Ironwood and Clover have worked together for a number of years. Clover supporting Ironwood with his good fortune, as well as being able to restrain opponents with his Kingfisher, while Ironwood deals out damage from range. That is a very difficult combination for Talk and Mercury to fight against. Talk, especially, is a very close-range fighter, as well as that's what Mercury is most accustomed to. He does have some long-range capabilities, but ultimately, because of Ironwood and Clover having such good team cohesion, being able to battle their opponents at a distance, and the added aspect that Talk's semblance, if it's activated, would run out after 60 seconds, and then it would just be 2v1 against Mercury, well, Ironwood and Clover came out the victors in this match. It wouldn't be an easy match, as I don't think any of these would be overly easy for any of the pairs to win, but Ironwood and Clover would be up to the challenge in this case and would take the victory. In our fourth match, we had Lyren and Rhodes versus Coco and Fox. Yet another with good team cohesion between Coco and Fox, having fought together on the same team, and not only that, being partners while at Beacon Academy and now at Haven Academy. With them being in their 4th year, they fought together quite a lot. Their team cohesion would be impeccable, and against Ren and Rhodes, they would come out the victor. Rhodes, with his ability to turn his skin to metal, would be able to deal with a little bit of Coco's attacks, not to mention fighting in the forest biome would give them a lot of cover, and Ren would be able to keep up with Fox, but ultimately with Fox and his telepathy being able to locate wherever the opponent is, Coco being able to fire pretty much pinpoint wherever she needed to with her Gatling gun, well, their team cohesion would overwhelm Ren and Rhodes, so Coco and Fox ended up the winners. And then we get to match number 5. Definitely the highlight match of this week for sure. Blake Belladonna and Emerald Tsustrai versus Neapolitan and Sun Wukong. As a lot of people said, so many illusions and so many clones, with Emerald being able to create hallucinations in both Neo and Sun, as well as create hallucinations of Blake's shadow clones, duplicate them even more so. Sun and his ability to create clones, Neo and her ability to create real illusions. This would be an incredible fight to see. One that would include a lot of tricks on the battlefield, one that, the viewers themselves wouldn't have a complete idea of everything going on at one time, but ultimately in this match it was agreed upon, it was close, but it was agreed upon that Blake and Emerald would come out the victors, which does mean that Neo is eliminated from the doubles category in the first round. But this does make sense, as Blake would know Sun's fighting style very well. Sun's semblance would be draining his aura much more so than his opponent's, and Emerald being able to create hallucinations in both Sun and Neo at the same time, I think would be a little bit more effective than Neo creating real illusions. Yes, they would be tricky to deal with in Neo's case, but Emerald's semblance I think might be a bit more so, especially cloning Blake's shadow clones and making it a little bit more difficult, whereas Sun's semblance would just be his semblance on his own, sure, hidden by Neo's semblance, but still, this would be an extremely close match. Could honestly go either way, but Blake and Emerald I think would have the advantage here as well, and would end up winning in the end. And then we get to the 6th match, Pyrrha and Yang versus Maria and Weiss. A very high skill level in all combatants involved here, and honestly, this match out of all of them would be the one I would love to see in the RWBY series. Unfortunately, there are a number of things preventing that, but just imagining it happening is incredible. Pyrrha and Yang are highly skilled in their own right, would be able to deal with a number of things that Maria and Weiss would be able to throw at them, but Maria is a legendary huntress in her own right, and Weiss is probably one of the best support characters in the show, with her glyphs being able to support her allies and the dust added onto that, plus making extra allies with her summons, and ultimately, it was Maria and Weiss that win the fight. Pyrrha and Yang are eliminated in the first round. I wasn't exactly sure who would end up winning, but as people pointed out, and as I read most of the answers that people gave, Maria and Weiss are an extremely strong team. Maria is one of the most skilled characters in RWBY, and Weiss being one of the best supports, they make a hell of a duo, and are another favorite to win the tournament overall. But we'll see how things shape up and what opponents they end up facing in the future. And then we get to our 7th match, and speaking of highly skilled combatants, we have Crow and Marrow versus Cinder and Adam. Again, another match that I wasn't exactly sure how it would go. Sure, Crow is one of the strongest characters in RWBY, but Cinder and Adam are right up there with him. This group is, this would be an explosive match, to say the least. Not only because of Cinder's semblance, and, well, Adam's semblance, once he's able to charge it up, well, he would be able to explode a lot of damage as well, but ultimately it was Crow and Marrow that would come out the victor. Largely due to Marrow's semblance as well. Him being able to pause even one opponent in place would give an opportunity for Crow to swoop in, possibly deal enough damage to take one of the opponents out before making it a 2-on-1 fight. Now, this probably wouldn't happen immediately. It would certainly be a challenging fight for everyone involved, trying to outmaneuver Marrow's semblance as well as dealing with Crow's skill, but Cinder being able to fight from range, Adam being a very brutal attacker when coming up close, it would be a lot to deal with, but ultimately it would be Crow and Marrow that would come out the victor. And then in our last match, we had Team Thunder Thighs with Nora and Elm versus Raven and Jean. A lot of strength there on Team Thunder Thighs with Nora and Elm both wielding their hammers. If you get hit by either of them, you're probably going to be sent spinning. Maybe not aura break in the first hit unless Nora charges herself up, but you're still going to be quite dazed afterwards. But ultimately what won the match was Raven and Jean. A lot of people pointed out that these are two of the best tacticians in the RWBY series, and ultimately that would be able to help them outmaneuver Elm and Nora. Something that I hadn't really considered, but Raven and Jean are a powerful team in their own right. Yes, Raven is physically stronger and more skilled than Jean, being the head of the Bronwyn tribe and someone who's been fighting out in the field for much longer than Jean has, but Jean has definitely been able to stand his own. And with the added dust capabilities of his shield, his ability to think quickly in battle, he would be a huge asset to Raven. And there was one thing that I saw pointed out in a couple of the answers, that would it be possible for Raven to actually form a kindred link with whatever partner she has? Now, I don't think that would be possible, as the kindred link is something that's built over time. It's something that her soul has a connection to, so I don't think she would be able to do that with a partner that she was just paired with for this tournament, so I don't think that would be a factor, and in most people's cases it wasn't for deciding who would win this match, but still, it's something interesting to think about, of what the actual qualifications would be for Raven's semblance. In my opinion, it has to be something that her soul is actually attached to, not something that she consciously chooses, but something that, you know, is felt deep within. Her daughter, her brother, people that she has a genuine connection to, people that she genuinely cares about. But still, this has been an incredible week. A lot of very interesting matches, and in the doubles category, there are some pretty notable eliminations in the first round. As I mentioned already, Neo and Pyrrha are now eliminated, along with Yang, with Talk, Mercury, Ruby's eliminated as well, Yatsuhashi, Harriet, Cinder, and Adam are both eliminated now. Like, there are some strong characters that are no longer in the doubles category. This one is a single elimination tournament, so things are only going to get more exciting from here as the stronger duos remain. Make sure to check the link in the description below to see what the next matches are going to be starting tomorrow in week 5. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the Phoenix Festival tournament. I certainly am, with all of these amazing matches that are coming up. Let me know down in the comments below, what was the most surprising victory for you? What team are you looking forward to seeing the most throughout the doubles category? And who do you think is going to end up the victor in the singles category as well? And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did want to keep up with the Phoenix Festival tournament, with everything going on the channel, make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at PhoenixKnight7, and I'll see you all in the next video.